been listening to a podcast, maybe late at night, or a radio show, and you just kind of fall for the host's voice? It's this weirdly powerful feeling, right? A sense of connection, almost intimacy that just appears out of nowhere, straight through your headphones. Well, today, we're going to dive into exactly that. Why a simple voice can have such a huge impact on us.
I mean, this question absolutely nails it. It really gets to the core of what we're talking about. It's this feeling, this vibe that you can't quite put your finger on. It makes the whole experience feel so personal. It's not just about the words they're saying. It's about how it makes you feel, especially when you're the only one awake, listening in the dark. So yeah, let's start right there with that whole late night listening thing, because it's a super common experience, and it's in that quiet, personal space where a voice can create this really profound sense of intimacy.
I just love this phrase, a syringe of vibes. It is so perfect. It really captures how some podcasts feel like they're just injecting a mood, a feeling right into your brain. It stops being a broadcast to thousands and starts feeling like a one-on-one conversation that's meant just for you.
And you can see this in shows like Unread, which perfectly captures that feeling of being alone on the internet, but somehow not feeling lonely. Or take Normal Gossip. It literally feels like your best friend is on the phone dishing about some ridiculous low-stakes story. And then you've got This Is Dating, where you get to be a fly on the wall for a first date. They all use audio in these clever ways to make you feel like you're right there with them.
Okay, so what happens when this whole idea goes from just passively listening to a podcast to actively searching for a connection based on someone's voice? Well, that's where things get really interesting because some dating apps are betting everything on the power of the voice crush. So, meet Soul. It's a dating app that's all about putting the voice first. If you look at the interface here, you'll see something's missing. Pictures, at least at first. Everyone's just an avatar. The main thing, what you see happening on the right, is a timed voice chat. The entire point is to get rid of all the visual stuff so you can connect based on, actual vocal chemistry.
And the way it works is pretty wild. You just get dropped into a timed, anonymous voice chat. So for those first few minutes, all you have to go on is their voice, their tone, the way they laugh, how they string a sentence together. It's only if you both feel a spark and agree to continue that you get to see each other's profiles. It completely flips the script. Personality first, looks second. So why does this work so well? Why can a voice feel so incredibly compelling, whether you're listening to your favorite podcaster or trying to find a date on an app like Soul? Well, to answer that, we have to look at the psychology of what's actually going on in our heads when we connect with someone sight unseen.
And it basically comes down to this theory called the hyper-personal model. The big idea here is that when we're communicating with someone but can't see them, our brains don't just leave a blank space. Nope, they fill in the gaps. We hear a warm tone in their voice, and our mind just automatically pictures a kind, smiling face to go with it. We end up building this idealized, almost perfect version of who we think they are.
And what's so cool is that it's a two-way street. The person speaking, the sender, gets to carefully craft how they come across, right? They can pick their words, change their tone, but then the listener, the receiver, takes all those little cues and, runs with them, building them up into this huge, idealized picture. It's basically the perfect recipe for a crush to form. And we even see this exact idea play out in stories. There's this one anime where a high school kid gets completely obsessed with a radio host's voice. He decides he has to find her, so he transfers schools, only to find 4 different girls who all kind of sound like her. He'd built up this perfect Apollo in his head, this ideal person, and he started projecting it onto anyone who even remotely fit the voice. But it's not all in our heads. It's not just psychology, it's biology too. That little spark, that feeling of a crush, it triggers a very real, very powerful chemical cocktail in our brains. It's like the engine that powers a whole idealization thing we were just talking about. And I'm serious about this. Scientists have found that the act of falling in love unleashes a huge rush of dopamine, which is the brain's pleasure and reward chemical. It's the exact same chemical that's linked to the euphoric high of cocaine. So that feeling of being addicted to someone's voice, that's not just a metaphor, it's a real chemical process. And what about all those classic symptoms of having a crush? The racing heart, the sweaty palms. That's not just you being nervous. That's your body flooding with adrenaline and norepinephrine. These chemicals literally sharpen your focus and direct all of your attention onto that one specific person. And then there's oxytocin. We call it the love hormone because it helps us bond with a partner. But get this, studies have actually shown that it can increase your tolerance for physical pain. Think about that. The connection is so deep on a biological level that love can literally act like a painkiller. That's wild.
So when you put it all together, the psychology of filling in the gaps, the biology of all those brain chemicals, it's really no wonder that this idea of falling for a voice is such a timeless theme. We're practically hardwired to be fascinated by it.
And we see this pop up everywhere, from old school radio dramas to modern romance novels. Take the book First Time Caller. It's about a woman who calls into a late night radio show and has this instant, amazing connection with the host, all without ever seeing his face. It just goes to show you that this fantasy is as powerful today as it ever was. And this quote it sums everything up so beautifully. The simple idea that something life-changing, a connection that fills a hole you didn't even realize you had, can start with nothing more than the sound of a stranger's voice. It's just a really powerful, romantic thought, isn't it?
But this all leads us to a really crucial question, especially right now. We've just talked all about how our brains build these idealized people based on a voice. So what happens when that voice isn't even real? With AI and deepfake technology getting so good, our most intimate connection could someday be with something completely synthetic. And in a world like that, what does it even mean to trust what you hear? And can a voice crush ever truly be real?